We want to be known as how we are today. We're living, we're breathing, we still have our culture, we still have our language, and we want to be looked at as Americans as well. And I think for some reason the American dream is that they forget about the Native Americans. I am Everett Osceola, and I am Seminole. The way we used to live was by war. The way we used to live was by survival. The Seminoles are called the unconquered people because we were the only tribe within U.S. history to not sign any treaties. Seminole actually was derived from a dialect of Spanish. They just said Cimarron, meaning wild one or the untamed ones. So it got butchered over time and over generations that it was called Seminole. But in a way it kind of stuck because we weren't part of the Creeks, we weren't part of the Choctaws or the Chickasaws. We actually were a part of some of the ancient tribes. So being untamed or wild ones, you know, we just kind of inherited the name, and we kind of just, we have it now, and we kind of have it now proudly. All our traditions are passed down orally, like our songs, our stories, and our language. There are two languages within the Seminole tribe. One is called Creek, which is part of the, kind of like the Port Creeks of Alabama and even the Creek Nation. And then we also have the Miccosukee language, which is mostly the predominant language that's spoken today. Did the Seminoles own Florida at one point? Yes, they did. We have records going back probably as far as maybe 1713. And there was a map of where they said that we actually had not only Florida, but it went as far as Florida, Alabama, Georgia, almost all the way up to Tennessee. We've always been part of Florida. The only reason why we kind of disbanded is because when the Europeans came, it was kind of like, you guys belong here. You guys are going to be called this. You eat this certain type of food, so you're going to be called, you know, you're going to be named after that food. So when we would go back and forth between Florida, when the Europeans came, we had to stick to one certain area in order to survive. And then during the times of war, they tried to make a deal with us. Of course, we didn't go for that deal, but after the first Seminole War, which was around 1815 to around 1820, they tried to give us to sign where we were going to have some land within Florida. And that covered, it was like right in the middle, Ocala, all the way down to Vero Beach. And then, you know, that didn't go as well. And then that's when we had two more Seminole Wars. And that's when we pretty much, it came down to just where we were hiding in the Everglades in order to survive. When we came out of the swamps and when we were put on reservations, we weren't given that much. We were given maybe some water, maybe some commodities, but we had to live, we had to learn how to survive even in Hollywood. But we ended up learning from all the different resources that were around us, not only natural, but all the other different resources. And the thing is that we were able to prevail over it. When we started our businesses on the Seminole tribe, we started off with the smoke shops, the citrus and groves, the cattle industry, even the gas stations. Everything is owned by Seminoles. But in order to start those businesses, you have to put in shares. So when that started, some of the tribal members put their shares into making the smoke shop to run, or even when the gaming started, you know, we had to put some of our shares into that into that business in order to make it a corporation. So when this had happened, you know, when everything is done, just like any other company, when everything is done and everything's tallied up and everybody's paid their portion, it comes back to the people because that's whose money went into that entity in order to make that money. When we had started getting wealthier because of the gaming, we were becoming targeted by the local newspapers. Some we were even done on us that made us look bad, that made us seem like we were greedy. And then at one point, it was to the point where we were being targeted just by having our cars, like the Seminole Tribe license plate, or if we had like even as simple as a Dreamweaver, like hanging on our rearview mirrors. they were quick to be broken into, because there was a lot of misinformation being put out there saying that we were rich, that we have, this much money, this is how much we get a day. And I believe even a newspaper had even printed out stats of how much we got, or how they even went to as far as going to car dealerships to asking, how well or how much of a relationship do you have with the Seminole tribe. And so this put it out there that we had like wads of money in our back pockets. And that's not necessarily it. I mean, we do get somewhat of the wealth because of the gaming, but it's not like we're walking around like Rockefellers where hundreds are hanging out of our back pockets. It's just like any other business. But the difference is just like I was saying before, it has to do with the fact that we have this land in order to make these successful businesses run. We have 6 reservations, and on each reservations, they're located throughout South Florida. There's one in Hollywood, Big Cypress, which is in the Everglades, Brighton, which is near Lake Okeechobee, and we have like little sub-tribes like Fort Pierce, Immokalee, and we also have one in Tampa, but they're very small. We want to be remembered as how we are now, that we're living people, that we're people that are living amongst you, not something that you see in a book, not something you see on TV. But, we're doing our thing and we're still here. And that's how we want to be remembered, is that we're still here. We're not some sort of an exhibit. We're not some sort of antique, extinct people. We're still here.